Welcome back to the ETF Inspector. It's Wednesday, June 11th, and this will be the video for the YieldMax 7 individual income strategy ETFs listed in the title. That's AMDY, AMZY, APLY, FBY, GOOY, MSFO, and NFLY, if you want to say it that way, or I can spell out all the letters for you. Not very prepared for this one, obviously. So if you go into the ETFs on there, covered call ETFs, and all the individual stock funds themselves are right there. We'll click on, actually, was it GOOY? I think it was GOOY that is part of Group A that paid today. Not paid today, declared today. Sorry, very tired. All right, so let's start out by taking a look at how each fund did compared to the stock that it's covering, or otherwise known as its underlying. As you saw on the thumbnail, there was a whole lot of red with a little bit of green. So AMD lost 1.71%, while AMDY only lost 1.41%. So the YieldMax fund outperformed. Amazon lost over 2%, while AMZY lost 1.67%. Again, YieldMax fund outperformed. APLY lost 1.92%. Apple did, while APLY lost 1.72%. YieldMax fund outperformed the underlying. Meta lost 1.18%, while FBY lost 1.01%. Another win for YieldMax. Google lost 0.7, while GOOY only lost 0.39. Another win. Microsoft added 0.36%, and MSFO added 0.69%. So we are 6 for 6. Can we go 7 for 7? No, we cannot. Netflix went up 1.35%, while NFLY only went up 0.88. Still not bad. All right, we'll take a deeper look into, oh boy, was I not ready? I was ready. Okay. Before we get into each fund, I'm not going to go over all of them. I just did it on my ALTI and LFGY video. So if you want to hear me talk about these a little bit more, click over on that one. Otherwise, you can just pause the screen if you want to take a look. So the weeklies are listed over here on the left. This is the distribution announced or declared today, along with its closing price and its annual yield. So we'll just hit the quick highlight reel and say ALTI was the top payer when it comes to annual yield, paying at almost 79%. And then Group A will highlight the fund we cover, GOOY, paid 39.78 cents, or declared it. I keep saying paid, on a $12.65. That's a 40.88% annual yield. And the best one in Group A this time around was SNOY, covering Snowflake, at $1.27 with an annual yield of nearly 95%. So again, if you want to see all of them, just pause the video or check me out on X. I reposted the YieldMax declaration announcement first thing this morning. All right, we will start with Group A, and then we'll work backwards from alphabetical order. I'd like to start with trades. Forgot to increase the size. Okay, so we haven't talked about them yet this week. On Monday, they had no trades, and that's the first trading day of the 4 cycles. That's why we got the announcement. Right, they totaled up the last 4 weeks and declare it in the middle of this week. So now we're starting the next 4-week cycle. On Monday, they had no trades. On Tuesday, they made trades that totaled a profit of $13 million. Part of me wonders, so part of that, a majority of that obviously, was closing out the synthetic that July 18th that I told you it's not going to get closed out anytime soon. Well, they did it. So they closed that out, profited nearly $15 million on that, but they have to open a new synthetic to be able to trade on it. So they did. just about broke even, opening the new synthetic at 180 as opposed to 160. And then they went ahead and closed out the trades that were associated with the original and started new ones. So making 13 million, I've got a feeling a lot of that was to come up with the money to pay the distribution that they're paying this week, but I could be wrong. But the reason I say that is because they made negative, so they lost almost $4 million in the previous 4-week trading cycle. So to pay us a distribution, they weren't paying it out of a loss of 5.3 million. That's why I thought on Tuesday they made this move, closing out the synthetic to bring in 13 million. But as far as today, it seems like there was a small decrease, people selling out of the fund. So they had to close a portion, 150 contracts of the synthetic, and went ahead and closed the call that was sold along with it. So they lost 32,000 on the trades today. All right. So we talked about closing prices already. We've got our new synthetic that's at 180, where we closed out the old at 160. So we cashed out that nearly 15 million. The new one is actually worth a negative, but just negative 125,000. So not a big concern. They went ahead and announced a 39.78 cent per share distribution. Like we said, 40.88%. Based on the IV, my guesstimate was 25 cents and change. So they paid, and they lost money, right? We talked about that. So they lost money. Based on the IV, they should be paying us 25.3 cents, and they paid us almost 40 cents. So don't ask me why. I guess we'll say thank you, but we'll see how long they can operate paying out like that. All right, taking a look overall at the fund. Otherwise, it's a nearly $129 million fund with 10,150,000 shares. We've got calls at 177.50 and 182.50. These are the contracts. Each contract's worth 100 shares. They are 0.08% out of the money, 2.9% out of the money, and 4.3% out of the money. So this 177.50, we can't afford another 15-cent increase, or that's going to end up being a loss. All right, so you've now got 4 weeks before the next declaration. Tomorrow's X day. Don't try to buy tomorrow. If you didn't buy today, that's it. You're not getting this distribution. But if you're in it, you're getting 39.78 cents per share deposited in your account on Friday. All right, let's go ahead and back up to the beginning. We'll go through alphabetical order from here. AMDY had no trades today, no trades on Monday, but they did have trades on Tuesday. They closed out their, 120s? Yeah. Closed out their 120s and sold 128s because the stock jumped up, went against them. Took a loss of $1.5 million. AMDY is part of Group C. They last declared on May 28th. Next declaration is in 14 days. They're roughly $150 million fund. Synthetic is currently worth $17 million or 90 cents a share if they were to close that out. It's sitting at 110 with the stock at a little over 121. There's 19,200,000 shares. Their calls are at 122 and 128. They are 0.7 and 5.6% out of the money. We'll go to Amazon. Amazon had no trades on Tuesday or Wednesday, but they did have trades on Monday. Closed out their 215s in pieces, 215, 215, and they sold 220s all together. So it should say 6,100. Yep, and it does. and they already had other contracts at 215. So they closed out a portion of their 215s and made them 220s, left the rest. Took a loss of 817,000 on that trading day. Amazon is part of Group D. They just declared last week, so you've got 3 weeks to go before the next one. It's a $277 million fund. There was a decrease in shares of 125,000, bringing it down to 17,225,000. Obviously, the NAV and the closing price aren't updated because the updated holdings for everything, including their cash, including their treasuries, including their options prices, that doesn't come out until tomorrow morning. So basically tomorrow morning when I update it, I'll have the correct NAV. So you never really get these correct until you're on the weekend and there's not a trading day. But it's pretty much always within a couple cents. So their synthetics at 185, dated out till July. Again, it's worth $43 million right now, or $2.50 per share if they were to close that out and pay it out. Their calls are at 215 and 220. They are 0.8 and 3.1% out of the money, and all dated for this Friday. All right, next is Apple. APLY had trades on Tuesday and Wednesday this week, making 50,000 on Tuesday. Basically just selling a little bit more shares. They sold short. They sold to open puts, and they sold to open calls. So let's see if that's what it looks like over here, and it does not. So that's confusing. Unless they closed them right back out. They didn't. So I have no idea where those puts are. Oh, they just did it all within the same day. Okay. So, yeah, they've been having some fun over there at YieldMax lately. So they sold these puts 210 for $8.95, and then in the same day they bought them back for 98 cents. So there's your management fee getting put to work. I mean, they made a single day trade, selling something for $8.95, buying it back for 98 cents. Good job on their part. But then today, let's see what they did. Bought the close 212.50s, bought the close 212.50s, bought the close 212.50s, all for this week, and sold for next week 207.50, 207.50, 207.50. Overall win of 600,000. So those won't show up till tomorrow. That's why I've got orange here. So these here got swapped out. They don't exist anymore. The only calls currently on the board that still exist are the 180 contracts at 207.50, and they're 4.3% out of the money. It's a $129 million fund, part of Group D. They also declared and paid last week, so you've got 3 weeks to go before the next one. Synthetic is currently underwater, $4.5 million to the negative, or that's what it would cost to close it out. It's a June 20th, 210. So we don't have a whole lot of time left on this one. This will get closed out during this cycle, so unless Apple gets up over 210, we're going to be taking a loss closing out this synthetic. There's 10 million plus shares with 50,000 added since our last video. And that's all we've got to say about that one. FBY has no trades so far this week, so we like that. They sold their options kind of tight, and things have worked out for them. So they're just letting them sit, letting time decay, and getting to keep more and more of the premium. FBY is part of Group B. They declared previously on May 21st. Their next declaration is a week from today, on June 18th. Their $172 million fund with a little over 10 million outstanding shares. Synthetic's doing well. It's a July 18th 660. with the current price of Meta being $6.94, that makes it worth $11.3 million or $1.11 per share. As with all of these, the majority of the money is sitting in treasuries, and they have calls, like we said, 710 and 715. There's 3 times as many at 715. They're 2.2 and 3% out of the money. We already talked about Google, so we can skip over that one. Microsoft has had, MSFO has had no trades this week so far. So again, sometimes that's a good thing. We'll take a look. MSFO is part of Group C. They declared on May 28th, and their next one is in 2 weeks on June 25th. It's a $123 million fund with 7 million plus outstanding shares. Synthetic's doing well. It's a July 18th, 435 with Microsoft at 472. That's worth over $10 million or $1.42 per share. They've got a smaller portion, 100 contracts at 472.50 on the call. They're just barely in the money, but they're letting them ride for now, letting time decay. Maybe we get a small down day tomorrow and those fall out of the money, which would be in our favor. Then the bigger portion, 1,000 contracts at 475 and 1,530 contracts at 477.50. They are 0.5 and 1% out of the money. So playing this real tight. Definitely can't afford any big days from Microsoft. And finally, NFLY and Netflix. NFLY had a small pile of trades on Tuesday where they closed their 1290s for Friday and opened 1230s, 519 contracts. Made a decent little profit there, $54,000. NFLY's part of Group C. Again, last declared on May 28th. Next declaration is 2 weeks from now on June 25th. They are managing $155 million in this fund with 8.5 million outstanding shares. Their synthetic is Netflix at $11.40 for July 18th, which is currently worth $8.8 million since Netflix is trading around $1,220. Let's see. They've got calls at 1,230 and 1,265, 519 contracts and 756 contracts. They're 0.8 and 3.7% out of the money. So as long as Netflix stays under 1,230 by the end of the week, we'll win those trades. Okay, that's all I've got for you today. So if you've got GOOY or any of the other Group A funds or any of the weeklies, you've got to see what you're going to be getting paid. You'll get marked as having the shares tomorrow. You'll get paid on Friday, unless I have heard that there's a handful of brokerage accounts that for some reason don't pay till Monday, so that would stink. But and unfortunately, I tried to roll right into this video from the last. I didn't prepare a second dad joke, and as soon as I press record, my brain stops working. So for some reason, I can't think of any. So I'm going to have to read you the same joke as I told on the last one, and it's not even good. So after telling you all that, of course, you're not going to laugh. But if you made it this far, thank you. Thanks for watching. Please hit the like and subscribe if you haven't already. Dad joke of the day. What do you call a cheese that isn't yours? That's nacho cheese. Okay, hope you have a good night and a great trading day tomorrow. See you on the next one.